Guys, I made my own blind boxes and we're gonna talk about it. Hi everyone, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel, and today's video is really exciting. When I was thinking about what to say for this video, what style of video to make this, I was a little bit stuck, but not because I didn't know what to say. It's because I have way too much to say about this entire project that I didn't really know where to start. So I have a lot of like main points that I want to talk about over here. So if you see me looking over here, I'm just looking at my notes. But yeah, this has been a project that has taken over my life over the past 2 years, and I can finally share it with you guys. And I wanted to explain how it came to be, why I decided to do it, and of course show you guys the process of doing it, because spoiler alert, I did not think it would take 2 years to do this, but somehow here we are 2 years later. Of course, later on in the video, I'll unbox them and show you guys what's inside. But first, I think in order to understand why I decided to do this, we gotta go take it back to the very beginning and explain the lore, because I really think that I have subconsciously been dreaming of doing something like this my entire childhood, maybe before I even knew it. This is like a culmination of all of the things that raised me as a kid, the things that inspired me to become an artist, and still to this day bring me joy and nostalgia as an artist. So it was a really special thing for me to work on, not only as a small business, but also just as an artist and a human. So I am so excited that it's finally real and I get to talk about it. As a kid, I grew up watching cartoon shows like Pokemon, Powerpuff Girls, all of the Disneys, all of the Pixars, all of the Studio Ghibli animes, and of course I was chronically online even as a kid, so I would play games like Neopets and Webkins and Club Penguin. The characters on these shows and movies and games fascinated me, but not just purely as entertainment. I was in awe of the art style. I would analyze how these characters were drawn and then try to recreate it. Almost all of my earliest, more serious memories of drawing and art, besides just coloring at school with crayons, is trying to draw these characters that I held so dear in my heart. I loved cute characters like these so much that of course I had to have all of the stuffed animal and plushie versions of them. I remember my bed was just fully surrounded by all of these stuffed animals. It would take up so much space, so much so that my mom would yell at me to cut down because I had too many, and I remember having to sell a few at some yard sales. It really broke my heart. But these characters and these stuffed animals really brought me joy as a kid. And at one point, because of my love of these cute characters, I genuinely thought I was gonna grow up to be an animator. I remember learning how to paint characters on acetate sheets because I learned from a book that that's how old school animators would do their animations, and you know, just change up the acetate sheets. So I even tried doing that as like a 12-year-old kid. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this, but my love of cute characters and doodling cute little animals and things really did lay the groundwork for who I am today as an artist. I know some people might see drawing these cute little animals as silly or frivolous or maybe not serious art, but even as a kid I really saw it as a true art form, and I still do. Even more than that, I saw these characters as a whole world and I really connected with them. Now, cut to many years later, I start my YouTube channel in high school. I start doodling in notebooks, drop out of school, start designing planners. You guys know the story. And in my bullet journal, I start doodling this little frog who we all have come to know and love, Fredbert. And this little frog started out as a doodle in my bullet journal, but we ended up as a community giving him a name, a story, and he has been making appearances in my videos and my journals for years. For me, he was almost somewhat like a comfort figure, like a go-to doodle. Whenever I didn't know what to draw, I would draw Fredbert. And this is around when I started dreaming of turning him into a plushie. But of course, because I'm extra, I couldn't just make him into a plushie. I needed to make friends for him as well. Now, I remember I did a small live stream and there wasn't that many people on it, so if you guys were on this stream, then you are truly an OG. But I did a stream where I designed new friends for Fredbert. And similarly to how Fredbert was born because of the community loving him him and giving him a name and a story. The viewers on that stream helped me make stories and personalities for these new characters. As I was designing these characters on stream, you guys came up with personality traits and gave me feedback on colors and designs, and I remember we even at one point assigned MBTI personality to them, so they just were slowly becoming real characters. And what the people on that stream didn't know was I had already made up my mind to turn those characters into blind boxes, and thus began a 2-year-long journey of me designing these plushie keychains. Honestly, at first I thought it was going to be relatively easy to get these plushies made because there are so many plush toys out there, and it seemed relatively simple. I've had experience at that point. I was making planners for 4 years now, so I knew a little bit about manufacturing. It couldn't have been that hard, right? Boy, was I wrong. I drew pretty exact diagrams of all the characters' front, back, and sides, almost like a character sheet that animators would have, and I brought these to different manufacturers. And a lot of times with manufacturers, they tell you they can do something pretty easy and you're really excited at the beginning, but then when you get the first sample, that's when reality hits. Because I remember getting the first sample and I was so disappointed. Somehow it looked like what I had drawn, but also it was so far from what I had imagined. The proportions were off, the colors were off, the details and embroidery looked off, and it just wasn't up to my satisfaction. At that point, when the first sample came back and it was so far from what I pictured, I was like, oh, this is gonna take longer than I thought. I actually almost gave up at one point making these because I had already been through so many rounds of revisions and it still wasn't looking quite right. And for those of you who don't know, sampling plushies are actually quite expensive. I'm very lucky that my small business has been going on for, at that point, like 4 or 5 years, so I was really investing my own money in this little cute side project, I thought, as because I don't know, I wanted to make my dream of making cute plushies come true. I think some other people might have told me to give up or try again later or maybe do something a little bit simpler, but honestly at this point I was too far in and I was like, no, I'm gonna make this happen. This is like my passion project, and I just kept moving along, kept making changes, and kept investing my own money into this project. That being said, it took so many revisions, probably the most revisions on a sample that I've ever made to create a product before. Bigger head for maximized cuteness, of course. Smaller size to make the ideal bag charm size. I made the fabric fuzzier and softer for peak cuddliness and pet ability. And even down to like having a different filling for adding some structure yet still making it squishy and soft. And then of course the hardest thing was probably switching out the colors so many times to make sure that it was the correct cutesy color palette that I imagined. Who knew there were so many things to consider when creating little stuffed animals? Side note, when I had decided to make these blind boxes, this was almost 2 years ago, so it was before I even knew what a Labubu was. I think Labubus were definitely a thing, but they hadn't blown up quite this much yet. So now that I'm launching these and everyone's obsessed with blind boxes and Labubus, it makes me so happy and makes me even more excited to launch these. But honestly, doing these blind boxes was really inspired by Sunny Angels, the gotcha machines that I remember doing as a kid, those little things that you would put a coin in and then a little ball would come out and you don't know which character would come out. Those were like my childhood Labubus. This randomized mystery toy genre of things is so nostalgic to me, and I love that we're bringing it back as an adult. It feels very healing to our inner child because now that we have adult money, we can spend it on little things that bring us joy like this. What I love about blind boxes, and especially now with everyone being obsessed with them on social media, is just the joy that it brings. I love watching people unbox blind boxes with their friends and getting so excited, and I feel like it's turned into a community thing too, where people are trading, and I don't know, it just really reminds me a lot of our community. We're just out here hee-heeing and ha-haing with our cute little things, and that makes me so happy. On the topic of the blind box of it all, let's talk about the actual box itself, the packaging, because that was sort of like the final step in all of this. So keep in mind, while I was designing the plushies and speaking with manufacturers about the plushies and planning all of this, I was also, of course, doing all of my other regular things like designing the doodle planners, working on videos, and doing all of our other launches as well. So there's a lot of things to manage, and something that I learned from doing this project is that it's okay if I can't do everything. I think for a while I had this pride as an artist of being capable of doing absolutely everything in the design process, and for the longest time I did do absolutely everything with the doodle planner. I would design every single page, all of the cover details, and as hard as it is and as much time as it takes, it's something I really enjoy. I think it is really important that I am involved in the design process of things just because they are my products and I want to make sure that I can stand behind them. But as a small business owner, I've also had to learn to decide where to put my energy and where I am most needed. And in the case of these blind boxes, my energy was definitely most needed in designing and perfecting the actual product, which was the plushies. Because it was taking so much time with the sampling process and making it look the way that I wanted to, I really decided to focus my energy on that and then get a lovely designer to create these beautiful boxes. So I worked with my friend Caitlin, who I've worked with on so many projects. She actually is the one who designed our Shop ARL new logo. She's an amazing graphic designer. She actually went to school for art and has designed packaging before, so she's definitely more experienced than me in terms of packaging design, and honestly I feel like it turned out better than something that I could make. So that was a really big thing that I learned working on this project, was just learning where to delegate and where to focus my attention on, because I'm so happy with this box design, and her working on this simultaneously as me working on the plushies really made things a lot more efficient. But yeah, we collaborated on the box design over several months, and I gave my opinions and ideas and she did as well, and this is what we came up with, which is it's just so perfect. Like, guys, can we just look at this for a second? So that brings us to today, and after years of working on this little passion project of mine, I can finally show you my own blind boxes, and all of my products are stationary products, so this is definitely a departure from that. It's my first time doing something not stationary. It was a lengthy and expensive process that took my energy away from some other things that I probably should have been doing, but I loved making these so much, and I really think you can see a lot of me in this project, and I think that's what art is all about. So should we finally unbox these things? I'm thinking yes. I have a full set here, so there's one of every character. We are going to be selling a few of these full sets, so they will be available if you want to just get one of each character, if you're really committed to the Little Doodle Friends family. But I guess let's just begin. So blind box rules are that you're supposed to say which one you like the best and which one you want. I already unboxed these on my Instagram and we were searching for Fredbert, but recently Puddle has been my favorite, so we'll see if we get him first. Of course, I had to do the aluminum packaging. Oh my god, wait, we got Fredbert first. Look at him. You know, he's the OG. You can't not love Fredbert the frog. Look at his little tummy. I love him. And there's actually a little surprise inside the packaging. If you look inside, you will see a little character card that comes with all of them, and it describes the character's personality, and it's really cute. I thought you guys would enjoy putting this in your journals and stuff like that as well. Next, we got Bow Bow. This is Bow Bow. She is the cutest little white fluffy dog, and she has a little bow on her ear. I love Bow Bow so much. And I will show you guys the character card. I think Bow Bow's character card is the cutest. We're kind of matching today. All right, next. By the way, I fully expect you guys to send me unboxing videos because I love watching people unbox blind boxes. We got Tarabun. Tarabun is so cute. She's a little purple lilac bunny, and she is the mother of the group. Here's her character card. So far, no Puddle. Where's my Puddle at? We We got her! Puddle has a little leaf on his head. I love Puddle's little red rain boots. Definitely one of my favorite little doodle friends. Even though they're all my children and I love them all equally, Puddle kind of has my heart these days, so we got him. I switched camera angles so that you guys could get a better view, almost like a POV for these last two boxes. But here is the box. I guess the only two left we haven't seen are Theodore and Luan. Let's open them up. Oh, we got Luan. So Luan is a little sassy cat. She actually has headphones, which funnily enough are on her head. I designed them that way, but you can also actually move these headphones. I like to put them in front of the ears. They're like little ear muffs, I guess. Cheek muffs. All right, final one. We got Theodore! Theodore's so cute! Alright, I've unboxed them all. Here are all of our little doodle friends. The whole family. Look at how cute they are. I'm trying to hold them all in one hand. Here they all are, all of our little doodle friends. They are just so cute, guys. I'm obsessed with how they turned out, and I think it was all worth it. And as if these were not enough, you guys wouldn't think I would make cute animal characters and not turn them into stickers, right? Guys, I made stickers for each character. They all have different things that they like. Tarabun has her little baking things and cupcakes and stuff like that. Luan, we have Fredbert, we have Bao Bao, Theodore. I don't know if you can tell, but they're all on this sort of like glittery holographic vinyl material, which is very nostalgic to me, and I think they're so cute. They'll be really cute in planners and journals and stuff like that. So those are also going to be coming out with this collection. All right, so that's it. That was the story of the Little Doodle Friends blind box lore, I guess. It was really a labor of love over the past couple of years. I'm really proud of me and my team and the people that I worked with to make this come to life. I feel like I've become so fond of all of these characters as I was creating them. It's almost like as I was working on them over the past couple of years, they have become slowly more real and alive, if that makes sense. So to me, they really are like my children. And honestly, it's really similar to how I felt when I was a kid, surrounded by all of my cute little plushies in my own little world, doodling cartoon characters that I loved. So I think above all else, that's really why this collection is really special to me, because I really got to go back to me as a kid, which is where all of this love of doodling and art began. And I think that's just proof that you guys can turn your dreams into reality. It all just starts with an idea. And when I say keep doodling at the end of every video, this is what I mean by that, because those little doodles can turn into real things like this. So if you guys want to adopt a little doodle friend, the blind boxes and the sticker sheets will be available on May 29th on our website shoparl.co. They will be available for worldwide shipping, and if you're in Canada, a little tip is that our friends over at Hanji Gifts will also be selling them, so they'll be selling them at their Toronto locations and also online. So they can definitely offer you better shipping rates than we can, because my warehouse is in California in the US. So Canadian friends, Hanji Gifts. But yeah, I think that's it. I hope you guys fall in love with the little doodle friends and can see the love that I put into these little guys. And even if you don't end up getting anything from this collection, thank you so much for any support. Even just watching these videos contributes to things like this, and that's the reason why I was able to do a project like this in the first place. It really is such a privilege to be able to create the things that I want to create. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to make my childhood dreams come true. I think me and Fredbert are going to sign off now, so as usual, keep doodling and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!